You need 50 liters water a day to live a healthy life. And I am not saying this, the World Health Organization is. Drinking, cooking, hygiene, all in 50 liters. Do we have that? Well, we have 3 times of that in India. Awesome, right? Not really. This is just for urban India. Only 30% of India, that is. The rest of India sits at 55 liters only, still fulfilling whose requirements? But do you know how much the USA has? 340 liters a day. Japan, 200 liters a day. UK, 140 liters a day. But wait, why am I counting liters suddenly? Because as we speak right now, in 2026, India is running a 42% national rainfall deficit. 3 major dams of India have hit 0% storage. Mumbai had 40 days of reserves left in June, just a few days back, and Pune is on alternative day supply. And this dam in Karnataka, which generated 1500 million units of electricity last year, can produce only 30% of that this year. Fuel crisis, power crisis, and now water crisis, all in 2026. The last time a water crisis happened in India, the water level went down to 30 liters per family, not person, when WHO actually mandates 50 liters per person. Over 20,000 employees were told to work from home or relocate to other cities. Hospitals postponed their surgeries. More than 500 companies had shut down, and all this happened in Chennai, a city that gets 2 monsoons per year. And this year, we are very, very, very close to that crisis. In a country that is already risking around 4 to 5% of India's GDP due to heat waves, how are we supposed to handle so much together, right? And have you thought, it is not just about the external factors, it is also how we design the water distribution structures, also about water subsidies. What about our buffers? What about our wetlands? That is what we are here to discuss today. Welcome to Angel One Economics. My name is Utsari, and today we are talking about the economics of India's water crisis. See, there are 2 graphs that can show the crisis in a clear picture. The first one shows how India consumes water. Agriculture at 89%, domestic use involves drinking, cooking, bathing, everything you do at home, right? Which is at 9% only. Industry use is at 2%. But 9% of domestic use, that is all that we have left for people's daily needs after the farms are done. And this 9% is shrinking, not because we are using more at home, but because the total pool itself is disappearing. How? See, in 1951, every Indian had 5,200 cubic meters of water available per person. Today, it is more about 1,500 only. There are 3 tiers of water stress levels cited by the UN. Below 1,700 cubic meters per person per year is water stressed category. We breached this in 2010 itself. And then comes this 1,000 cubic meters per person per year, which is the water scarcity level, which is the chronic shortage where it affects economic growth, food production, and human health on a structural basis. Now, India is projected to reach this level by 2050. We just have 25 more years then. Then comes the absolute water crisis, when water can't even meet basic human needs. Currently, 21 Indian districts sit here, but by 2050, it is predicted that around 49 districts will be fitting in this category. But then you would say, Utsari, what does the 1,700 cubic meter per person per year actually mean? 1,700 cubic meter per person means 4,660 liters per person per day, which sounds like a lot of water, right? 4,000 liters water per day that you have for your usage. Until you actually realize this covers not just what you drink and bathe with, but the water embedded in every crop grown to feed you. Every industrial process, every kilowatt of hydropower. Now that you have an overview, let's just list down a bunch of pre-existing concerns that speed up a water crisis. I will give you 3 examples of 3 different issues, okay? The first issue is the policy problem. India extracts 245 billion cubic meters of groundwater every year, and that is more than USA and China combined, by the way. And we also are extracting or pumping out 60% of it on an average. I repeat, we pump out 60% of our groundwater on an average. Sounds manageable, right? Not in a few states that are big on agricultural output like Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan. Rajasthan pumps out 150% of what it already has. Haryana pumps out 136% and Punjab pumps out 157%. And the story starts in 1997 in Punjab when the state government announced free electricity for all agricultural tube wells. No meter, no limit, no marginal cost. So what happens next? In the next 2 years, the irrigated area in Punjab expanded by 18%. Electricity pumps grew by 2 times, and because power supply is subsidized to only 4 to 8 hours a day, farmers had left their pumps permanently switched on. They cannot afford to miss the window when power comes. So even when it rains, the pumps run. Simultaneously, the minimum support price system guarantees income for paddy, which is the most water intensive crop in agriculture, right? Which requires around 20 to 25 irrigations per season. Now, pulses needed fewer than 4. So farmers grew more of paddy, not pulses. CJIAR, the global agricultural research body, found that MSP alone accounted for 63% of the decline in groundwater tables in Punjab over 2 decades. You cannot fix a water problem without fixing a power problem. And you cannot fix a power problem without fixing an agricultural procurement problem. And during such times of scarcity, what really happens? Supply shocks lead to price shocks. In 2024, Bangalore families were spending 3,000 to 5,000 per month on tanker water during the water crisis. Water went from free to subsidized to black market to now a commodity, all in one generation. The next problem is the quality problem. See, we know how much water we use. Now let's talk about how good the water is. India launched the Jal Jeevan Mission in 2019 because only 17% of rural households in India had piped water. By now, there are 82% in 7 years. But the problem is that when the government ran its own checks in 2024, it found out that only 83% of those households had actually received water through that tap only once in the previous 7 days. Only 80% were getting the minimum 55 liters per day. Only 76% received water free from bacterial contamination. And when you do national surveys, you find uranium in 6.6% of groundwater samples concentrated in Punjab and Rajasthan due to fertilizers. Then 56% of India's districts have nitrate levels above the safe limit, causing something called blue baby syndrome in infants, where high nitrates cut off oxygen supply in the blood. Now in such situations, what do Indians do? They buy themselves out of this problem, right? Through what? Through RO filters. Mumbai's BMC has 80 to 150 ppm TDS, among the best in the country. But around some parts of Chennai and Bangalore, which has dense IT parks, TDS crosses 1000, not just bad water, but water which is even unfit to drink.
नहा भी नहीं सकते भाई उससे, इतना गंदा पानी होता है.
To bathe, yeah. But RO strips out 95 to 99% of everything, including the calcium and magnesium your body needs. So we went from water too contaminated to drink to now water which is too clean to be healthy. Imagine we went from water as a free commodity to paying up to 1200 rupees for their water bill. Then comes the saving and recycling problem of India. First, we will see how India is recycling and saving, and then we will take 3 examples of 3 different nations. India generates around 72,000 million liters of urban sewage every single day. Of that, we actually treat only 28%. The remaining 72% is untreated and raw sewage going straight into the rivers, lakes, and groundwater. That's sewage, right? What about harvesting? Most of the states have made rainwater harvesting mandatory for new buildings. Now, Delhi imposes a 50% penalty on the water bills of large plots that don't comply. Now, compare this with Israel. A nation sitting in one of the driest regions has gone from being a water scarce to now water surplus nation. It recycles 90% of its municipal wastewater for agriculture, which covers half of its entire agri-irrigation. That's great, right? Then comes Singapore. It meets 40% of its national water demand with a recycling process of sewage water. And then comes UAE, taking the most direct approach possible. When you have sun and sea but no rivers, you build the technology to convert one into the other. So their solar-powered desalination plant converts seawater into municipal water. That's UAE for you. The lesson from all of this is simple. Water scarcity is not purely a supply problem. It is a recycling and management problem. We have decided as a country that sewage is waste. Every nation that solved this problem first decided that sewage is a resource. But we don't treat sewage like that. So till now, we have seen the different water problems we have. Policy, quality, recycling. We also know how much we are water stressed and how the rainfall deficit of 2026 looks like. Now let's move on to the elephant in the room. The newest pain point. One that really decides India's future, which is data centers. Every single megawatt of data center capacity requires 25 million liters of water per year. India's total data center capacity hit 1.5 gigawatts. So if you actually do the math, it is 37.5 billion liters a year for data centers alone. And that is expected to grow 6-folds by 2030 after all the investments from abroad on data centers in the different urban cities of India, right? Now, before coming to if India has that much water, where are these data centers? Nearly 75% of India's data centers are sitting in regions that are already officially classified as water stressed. Mumbai and Chennai alone accounts for 70% of India's total data centers growth in 2025. Chennai, the same city that hit day zero in 2019, if you remember. Mumbai, the same city that had just run out of water like a few days back, with just 40 days of water left in its reserves, right? The data center doesn't just consume water, it makes the surrounding area lose water faster as well. And that is another problem. The union budget of 2026 extended a tax holiday until 2047 for foreign companies building data centers in India. The government wants India to become the world's largest data hub, and that is a real economic opportunity. But water cannot be piped in from somewhere else the way electricity can be, right? A data center has to draw from local supply. We have seen how Meta's data centers in Georgia has made the water quality so much worse and contaminated that they can't use it anymore. So now it is agriculture, cities, and silicon all competing for the same shrinking pool in the same water stressed geography at the same time. See, we talked about how India treats only 28% of its sewage, right? Now, the remaining 72%, which is raw and untreated, flows directly into the rivers and lakes and groundwater every single day. Like Ganga has 118 towns next to its tributaries, and they continue to dump raw sewage into them, all of it reaching the main stream of Ganga. And that is a policy trap. The debate of civic sense comes much later. If there is a strict surveillance and penalties, no one would really throw their bins into the river directly, right? Do we do it when we go to foreign nations? No. Next comes Yamuna. It's flowing through Delhi for just 22 kilometers. That's just 2% of the river's entire length, and that 2% alone contributes to 80% of the river's total pollution. Here's how. Delhi sewage treatment plants do their job. They clean the water properly, but then that clean treated water gets released into open stormwater drains, and the same drains that are also illegally carrying raw sewage from informal settlements. So the Clean water gets recontaminated before it even reaches the river. In 2024, the Yamuna's pollution level, measured in biochemical oxygen demand, which is the BOD, hit 26 milligrams per liter. The safe limit is actually 3. That's 9 times over the limit. So, yes. To conclude, let's put all of this together. By 2050, India's population crosses 1.6 billion people. Per capita water availability, which was 5,200 cubic meters in 1951, falls to 1,191. Districts in absolute water scarcity, currently at 21, would more than double to 49 by 2050. That's 1 in every 15 districts in the country, by the way. And India's total water demand is projected to double the available supply by 2030, not 2050, 2030, which is in the next 4 years. And if none of this is fixed, the World Bank and Niti Aayog have projected that around 6% of India's GDP would be eroded by 2050 due to the water crisis and pollution. The good news is that the government has actually shifted strategy, not just spending. The Jal Jeevan Mission 2.0 of maintaining pipes, not just laying pipes, the real-time IoT monitoring of groundwater by Atal Bhujal Yojana. But those are things we already know and expect as citizens. The real part is that India currently ranks 13th among the world's 17 most water-stressed nations. We extract more groundwater than any country in the world. We still treat only 28% of our sewage. Every crop choice in this country, every city's location, every industrial investment, every data center built in a thirsty city, all of it is already a bet on water being there in the future. You're not sure. It's just a bet. Much of the capital building these facilities is foreign, largely from global tech companies, headquartered thousands of kilometers away. They get the tax holiday, the infrastructure, the global computing capacity, but the water comes from a local aquifer in Maharashtra or Karnataka. And when that aquifer runs out, the company doesn't lose anything, but the cities do. We need better planning, we need better management, we need better urban development and healthier cities. In economics, this has a specific term which is called a negative externality. It's basically a cost that shifts onto someone else who has no say in creating it and gets none of the benefit directly. Yes, there is real economic upside to data centers, but the bill for that choice is being paid by the people. That in the end is the real story of India's water crisis. Yes, India is a very rainfall dependent country, but it was never really about less rainfall. Nature gave us enough. What we got wrong was who pays, who profits, and who decides, long before the monsoon ever arrives. That's it from my side. Thank you everyone for watching. My name is Utsari, and if you like this video, please drop your comments below and suggest us more topics to decode on, and I'll see you in the next one.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.